Good morning, good evening, all of you. So today we are going to start with a new series. We call it as ckad crash course. So we are going to do a series of exercises, and you can see on the screen. The very first exercises is we are going to create a pod, and we are also going to inspect that particular pod. And the details. So these are the details. So these are some of the things which we are going to perform in the very first exercise. So before I do that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of heads up that I am using Minikube, and Minikube is nothing but a single node Kubernetes cluster. And if you really want to set up your single node Minikube cluster, you can basically reference this video. You can see that my channel is CyberSec Nerd, and you can see that this is the video title, and I will also be mentioning the link of this particular video in the video description box. So please refer that if you also want to create your Minikube environment, and so that you can perform all the exercises which we are going to start with. So this is also the GitHub repository which you can refer. So these are the steps we are going to perform in the very first exercise. So without any delay, let's get started. So you can see that the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a namespace, and then I'm going to create a pod in the very same namespace. And you can see that this is the image I'm going to use from the Docker Hub repository, and I'm going to expose a port which is nothing but 80, right? So what I'm going to do is, so without any delay, let me switch back to my terminal. And before I get started, I just wanted to show you that my Minikube is up and running. So kubectl, let's try to create a namespace. I would say namespace, and let's call it as ckad. So you can see that we have created a namespace, and now I'm going to create one particular pod. So let's say my pod 3, for example, and the image I'm going to use is nothing but nginx, and I'm also going to use with the tags. So for example here, and we start, give me a sec, and I'm also going to specify the port which we have talked about, which is nothing but port number 80. And at the same time, I'm going to refer the namespace. So this is the namespace which we are going to refer. You can see that my pod 3 has already been created. If I try to list this particular pod, I would say again the namespace I need to specify explicitly, else I will be able to list the pods which are running in the default namespace. You can see that it's not ready, and the status is nothing but image pull back off. So let's try to inspect that what is happening wrong. So I just wanted to show you how you can really list all the namespaces. So you can see that there are certain default namespace. For example, certain namespace which is corresponding to the Minikube environment, and then there is a default namespace. If we were not to specify any namespace, it will be taking a default namespace for that matter, right? And so we have created a ckad namespace, and we are going to continue with that namespace. So let me clear my screen. Now what I'm saying is logs, I would say my pod 3, and I also need to mention my namespace. You can see that I'm getting certain error, is waiting to start, trying, failing to pull an image. Probably something wrong with the image which we are trying to reference from the Docker Hub repository. So what I am going to do next is kubectl. Let's try to edit this particular I will say my pod 3. I would also need to specify the namespace. You can see I am inside the file, so I will get into the insert mode. So here in this particular line, can you see here that I'm trying to reference an image which is nothing but nginx, followed by the tag which is nothing but 2.3.5. So let's try to go ahead with the latest nginx image for that matter. And if I try to do make the changes, and so now you can see that my pod 3 is edited. So kubectl get pods, again namespace ckad. My apologies there. You can see that now the ready is 1 out of 1 and the status is running. So now our pod is running successfully. So we have done that. I will go back to my GitHub repository, and so now what we are trying to do is so now in which I'm going to create this particular pod. So I would say namespace ckad, and apart from that I also need to get to the shell of this particular, so I would say bin sh. So let me try to get back to this particular thing, whether so yes, we also, I think this should work fine, and let's try to see that. So yes, we are inside the pod, which is, if I try to do uname minus okay, let's do that. Uname, okay, uname minus n. So you can see that we are inside the pod which we have created just now. So if I try to do wget, and I will try to do minus o, and if you remember, if you try to recollect the IP address of the pod which we have just created before, that is 0.2. So I am basically referencing the pod, mypod 3, which we have created. So we are just trying to run the wget command against the pod which we have created previously. So let's see. You can see that we have gotten the output back. So that's our intended purpose. If I try to exit this particular pod, let's see what has happened. So can you see here, the pod which I have created has already been deleted, right? So because we have explicitly mentioned this arguments rm, since this particular container has already served the purpose, now it has already been deleted, right? So the last thing I'm going to do, so can you also see the logs for mypod3 once again? Let's try to do that. kubectl, I would say logs, I would say mypod3, and I would also specify the namespace. So you can see the last thing I am going to highlight here. Can you also see the wget request which we have made against the pod, which is nothing but mypod3? You're also able to see those things in the logs, right? The last thing I'm going to do is I will be deleting the pods. So let's delete pod I would say pods mypod3. I will also specify the namespace, which is nothing but ckad. So it is deleted, and I will also be deleting my namespace. Delete namespace ckad. So this is going to delete our namespace. So this is what we are going to do in this particular exercise, and now we will be moving on to the subsequent exercise. So I will see you in that particular exercise where we'll be creating a config map also. Thank you for this particular video.